Hey, I'm singer-songwriter, producer Nick DiMatteo, and welcome to Music is Not a Genre's PODFAST. This is PODFAST number 38, Questions I Don't Care About. Thank you as always for watching and listening. Listeners, go to youtube.com/@musicisnotagenre. You get a video for every episode of this podcast. Watchers, go to nickdimatteo.com/musicisnotagenre if you'd rather just listen. And everyone, go to patreon.com/musicisnotagenre to support this podcast, my band Rec, and everything I do. Speaking of my band Rec, go to nickdimatteo.com music for all of the music that I create under the band name Rec, also under my original artist name Nick, which I am reviving temporarily to release new material, as I have been mentioning, including a new single, which is coming out August 28th. Go to nickdimatteo.com/music to check that out. And finally, go to youtube.com/@RecBandNYC to see all of Rec's brand new videos for the album Kite to Camden, as well as a bunch of other videos from past albums. And finally, like, share, subscribe, rate, review, tell one person about this podcast. Word of mouth means everything to indie creators. So let's get to it. Again, this is PODFAST number 38, Questions I Don't Care About. So this is what I'm doing here, and I'm going to explain it a little bit more later, so I'm not going to get super into it now. But what this will be, of course, are things that I tend to mention in many of my episodes that create a running philosophy of music and of really life in general that I've been espousing here on Music is Not a Genre. And these questions are a way for me to kind of encapsulate all of that and kind of direct you towards what I care about in terms of music and other things, but specifically music in this case, and the things I feel you shouldn't care about. So that's kind of what that is. I should point out that this is the final episode of season 8. Yes, this is the end of season 8. But never fear, as always, as the last few summers I have done, you will still be getting new material throughout the summer. They will be bonus episodes that I'm sharing from patreon.com/musicisnotagenre that give me the summer off, but give you something new every week, 52 weeks a year. That was one of my missions a few years ago, and I have kept it up. So even though this is a sayonara for me as far as this season, you get a nice 4 or 5 weeks in between before season 9 starts. You still get some new stuff. So show format, of course, why I do this. Then the questions that I have written up as far as what I don't care about. Answers. Of course, why ask questions if you're not going to give answers? Conclusions, featured song, and then questions for you, including a challenge. Sources, me. Disclaimers, I have covered much and maybe all of this spread out in other episodes, as I mentioned, so some of it may sound familiar, but I have never done it all in one, so hold on tight. And the only other disclaimer, of course, is this is 100% my opinion. It's an educated opinion. It's an experienced opinion, but it's still an opinion. Opinions are opinions. All right, so let's get into this first section here. Why do this? I do my best to promote my take on how to enjoy and or create music, usually woven into whatever the week's topic is. I do that all the time. That's part of what I do. It's not just, let me tell you an interesting historical fact. As much as that can be a fun thing with some of the podcasts out there, I find it honestly slightly hollow. And I like to add some, additional thought into it and again, points of discussion. I thought it would be instructive and easier to ask straight up questions that help to frame my philosophy of music and the way I approach listening to music and the way I approach creating music. They'll paint a pretty solid picture of what Music is Not a Genre is all about. And I think these questions will point you in the direction of what's most important about music, or at least what I think is most important. And of course, I'd like to know if you disagree, please comment. And they will hopefully start discussions, which are vital to really the entire world. We don't have enough of those, and to connecting, and music is a great entry point for connection. unless, of course, you use it as a dividing line or barrier, which the whole point of this exercise is to show the difference between the two. I think we often focus on things that create division as opposed to connection or barriers of some sort. I'm also doing this because shit got crazy busy this week. Doing an audiobook, actually. I do a lot of voiceovers. I've never done a complete audiobook, and it just kind of landed on my lap, and the deadline is like now, basically. So I thought this would be an easy episode to put together. It didn't take a lot of research or writing because these are thoughts that I have all the time. So I just kind of collated everything and organized it, and it cut down my prep time by hours, which I needed to record the audiobook. So let's do it. Questions I don't care about. I'm loosely organizing the questions in two ways. First, by category, music recording, music listening, etc. And second, by whom I'm speaking to, the fan, the musician, the music creator, some combination of all of those, one or two or three, or all of them. Keep in mind that these are examples of the kinds of questions I don't care about in each category, and by no means comprehensive. And when I say, and let me, if I'm going to spend an entire episode on asking these questions, of course I care. I care about the substance of all of these questions, but they may address something specific that I actually don't care about. So that's kind of where the trick of that title is. So the first several of the questions here, all about the fans, which I imagine many of you are rabid music fans as opposed to music creators or performers. We'll get to you too. So, first section, for all you audiophiles. And how I'm going to do it, just so you know, and I'll reintroduce the section in a second, is that I'm going to ask 3 questions in each section and give short answers and then give my full answer and reasoning after that. So, for all you audiophiles. 1, am I listening on the quote-unquote right format? Don't care. Is my listening equipment good enough? Yes. Am I sacrificing the experience if I'm not hearing the highest possible fidelity? No. So I did an entire episode on audiophiles and that kind of pursuit of perfection, and broke it down and kind of explained why that's generally, first of all, unachievable, but also it's wasting a lot of time. There are benefits to wanting things to be of the highest fidelity, etc. If you are, let's say, you have a venue and the venue's purpose is music or some other sound type thing, let's say movie theater or something like that. Okay. If you are listening at home and the only way that you can enjoy the music you're listening to is to have this amazing, Atmos system or stereo or, whatever the different standards are or will be, then you're kind of getting in the way of your own enjoyment and you're wasting your time. I don't feel as though it is a worthy pursuit to try to spend a lot of time figuring out what the best way to listen to music is, as opposed to just listening to the music. And nothing is going to be perfect. If you wanted it to be perfect, you would have to treat the room too. And I know there are those of you out there who do that as well. And it's kind of your cave, and that's where you listen to music or what have you. And I'm not talking about recording studios. That's a whole different thing, and we'll get there, sort of. But if that's the kind of money you're spending, I'd rather you spend that money and give it to artists. Go to Bandcamp. Go to recarea.bandcamp.com and buy the music there, as opposed to spending it on equipment you don't need. Next section, for all you gossips. And then again, this is all about fans, the fans. Do I need to know what was happening in the artist's life to understand the music? Don't care. Does the artist look, act, or present themselves in the quote-unquote right way? Yes. Does knowing who the artist is or what they're like change the value of the music? No. And this is just a basic thing, and I've done, again, episodes on this. Can you separate the art from the artist? And there are times where it's more difficult. Let's say if it's a Phil Spector or somebody like that. And yet at the same time, we have all guaranteed heard more than one Phil Spector song throughout this past year, let's say, that we have enjoyed. or at least taken note of. And what does that mean? That it's possible for people to leave a legacy that's better than who they were, right? It's possible for people to do work that stands the test of time and is actually very worthy work, even if they weren't necessarily, to sum up, worthy people. Let's say that. But that's the extreme. The other parts of it are, do we need to know whether or not this person was going through relationship issues or was on drugs or had a hard time XYZ? Look, all of that can enhance the experience of listening. But, and this goes towards something I'll talk about later with critics and things like that, if the only way you can enjoy and understand the music is to know the backstory, then the music itself has failed. It's not doing enough. Music should be able to stand on its own. And that's basically what this, all these questions asking about whether or not we need to know backstories and things is all about. All right, this next section is for all you wonks. Speaking of wonks, if you notice that there was a little bit of a jump cut here, it's because, believe it or not, I had to stop mid-record, which I never do. But, things happen. End of the season. Stuff is haywire. So for all you wonks, does knowing the exact track, album, day, month, year was recorded and released or other stats make me a better fan? No. Am I still a good fan if I don't know who played or sang what, or what instrument they used, or what other gear was part of it? Yes. Does knowing who produced the album or each track and how and why they did it and who they brought in to help them make me a more dedicated listener? Don't care. So here's the thing, and I think you're kind of getting the sense of where I'm headed with all of these questions and all of these topics, which is this. You have to decide what you value more. If you are a wonk and your thing is knowing all of the stats, those are, you're blessed people, because those of us who are not that, we can go to you and find out that information if we so choose. But again, my point here is the same point I've been making, or one of the same points that I've been making in this episode and in all of my episodes, which is anything that detracts from, it's kind of two things. Anything that detracts from music enjoyment is not good, frankly. It's not the music. You're not there for the listening of the music, for the experience of listening to the music. And secondly, if you have to know that stuff to enjoy it, then the music failed. Now, again, knowing that X person produced it, I've gotten a thrill from that, where I've been like, I even said that in a couple episodes ago, where I found, Dan Nigro produced this too, Andrew Watt produced this too, whoever it is. That did give me a thrill. And I had some at least innate understanding of maybe why they did it the way they did. I didn't need any of that to enjoy the music itself. I am not the person to go to say, you like the Beatles song Run for Your Life. Which album was that on and what track was it? I don't remember. I want to say it was Rubber Soul, but Revolver, I'm not sure. I can get close, but I couldn't tell you if it was track 3 or track 14. No idea. That is the case for pretty much everything I listen to. Why? Because I absorb things in that kind of holistic way, where it comes down to the feel and sound of it, and all the other stuff are just facts. And look, I am a lover of facts when it comes to pretty much everything in the rest of the world, I would say. But when it comes to art, you don't need to know the facts. You just need to be able to enjoy the art as it stands. All right, so this next section is for all you competition freaks. Is there such thing as a quote-unquote greatest singer, guitarist, drummer, writer, etc.? Don't care. Does being more skilled make one artist more worthy than another? No. Is it okay to like two artists whose fans hate each other? Yes. So where this comes in again is a lot of people like to see music and art in general as a competition. I can't stand it. And even though I don't think shows like America's Got Talent are the worst thing in the world, I think and let's be honest, anybody who says, the state of music, no, there have been music competitions for decades and decades, both on and off television, probably, I think radio even had music. My dad participated in those, something called Arthur Godfrey and the, children's, all that stuff where fans voted, et cetera, et cetera. It's been around forever. I don't like the idea of music or any art being a competition. Now, you can say you prefer, I don't know, Terry Kath to Jimi Hendrix or whatever as far as guitarists, or you prefer Neil Peart to Dave Grohl as drummers or whatever. That's fine. That's your preference. But there is no real objective way to say one is better than the other. Why? Because every musician, their purpose, to my knowledge, is to serve the music, to serve the song. You can be as decent a drummer as Meg White, or, as somebody like Jimmy Chamberlain, who are both very different drumming styles, and many would say Jimmy Chamberlain has better chops, whatever. Is one better than the other? Objectively, no. Not because, and it's because the chops don't matter. And I'm going to get into that a little bit more later too, I believe. But the point being here is that you can have fun the way I have fun with ranking albums or songs, or, talking about genres and things that kind of give a structure to a conversation. You can have fun by saying, rank your top 5 favorite guitarists or singers or what have you, or, try to be as objective as you can and say, who's the best rock singer in history. I guarantee you, if you name 10, one of those might be right. But again, there's no objective way to do it. And all you're doing is really sucking away from the enjoyment of the music itself. And what you're doing is kind of being an armchair critic, a judge. And you're judging and saying, yeah, but that's a great song by a great band, but that singer is nowhere near as good as this other singer. Who cares? If it's good music, then they all served their purpose. And they did it in a way that connected with you and the fans. Speaking of fans, that's the end of that section. This next section is for everyone. Fans, musicians, performers, creators, etc. Everyone. So, for all you genre lovers, is this really the genre it claims to be? Yes. Does music have to follow a genre's rules to belong there? Don't care. Is mixing or abandoning genres somehow illegitimate? No. Now, I don't know if I need to go into this much, because the entire title of this show is Music is Not a Genre. To get a little bit more specific about that, what I will say about it is, again, genres are fun. They're a nice shorthand. You can say to somebody, I'm into indie rock. That can mean 100 different things, but they at least get a sense that your favorite is not, let's say, hip hop or country or something like that. Okay, that's fine. But when it comes down to the music, very little of any kind of music is purely in one single genre. Some are designed that way. Some just by default are. Do they have to follow the rules to belong in that genre? No. I heard this person saying that, what did they say? They said grunge was heavy metal and hair metal was not. I disagree. I think they both have elements of metal. I think hair metal is intentionally meant to be metal. It's a pop form of metal, right? And grunge had elements of metal, but was almost intended to be anti-metal in many ways, and was carving out its own thing. Now, does any of that matter? No, it doesn't. Because again, there's crossovers within there. Alice in Chains started out more or less as a hair metal band and then switched over, and whatever. All of these different things. Soundgarden has elements of metal, but they are certainly more grunge in many different ways. It doesn't matter. None of it matters. What matters is that the creators are allowed to do the music they want to do without gatekeepers and other, judges and critics saying to them, don't call yourself this if you don't want to be this. I know a lot of artists don't like to be called one thing or another. And even though I don't care, I think the reason why they might care is because A, they don't want to be pigeonholed, and B, they don't want to incur the wrath of those fans if they decide to, branch out and add an element to music that doesn't belong there. The way, one day Eddie Van Halen was like, I'm going to add keyboards to this hard rock music that, that didn't exist very much at the time. And it ended up being a great thing. And I'm actually going to get into those kind of elements a little bit later on here. For all you fame whores, how popular or successful is the music or the artist? Don't care. Does commercial failure tell us anything about musical quality? No. If an obscure artist becomes successful, do they still have integrity? Yes. I knew someone once who would only listen to music that was super obscure, and as soon as that artist got any measure of success, they stopped listening to them. Now, look, I would rather people do that than the other way around, but to me, either way around is ridiculous. I have found as much joy in listening to a famous artist's later work that nobody knew about as I did with their most famous work, because they were reaching a place where they didn't care. They did whatever they wanted. They were actually way better at what they were doing, and you just found some amazing music in the period when they, their fame had receded. So, commercial failure, we know it doesn't tell you anything about music. We know the market is saturated. We know there are so many creators out there that it's hard to rise above. It's hard to get anybody to pay attention to what you're doing. And that's certainly not a measure of whether or not something is good. The fact that one thing gets more famous than another is usually money. It's usually money and power, and the power comes from money, frankly. And your messaging, and how much you message, and how much attention you bring to it, and how many critics you contact to review. And there's a consensus, and I'll get to that later as well. It's money, really. And every now and then, luck, the 1 in a million that something rises. But you dig deep enough, 99% of everything comes down to money. It really does. All right. For all you opinion freaks, what do the critics say? Don't care. Does consensus determine what I'm supposed to like? No. Is music the critics don't write about still worth listening to? Yes. Again, I don't know how much I need to go into this. I did an entire episode on critics a couple seasons ago, I believe. And I don't like them. I like music writers in general, but those people who put themselves as arbiters of taste, eerily similar how many, you get somebody's top 10 albums of the year, and then somebody else's. Why the fuck are there 8 crossovers when there's so much music out there? It's because everybody's listening to everybody else. Oh my God, you like Geese? I'm going to like Geese too. You like Wet Leg? I'm going to like Wet Leg too, or whatever else it is. Does that mean the artists aren't making good music? No. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is you need to look beyond the headlines. You need to look beyond what the critics say. You need to look as far and wide as you can to discover the things that you want to. Sometimes that does come from the algorithm pitching something that, I didn't expect this song to pop up and I actually like it. Sometimes it's you're randomly, walking through a store, or you hear something on a TV show or in a movie, or a friend recommends something, or you accidentally click something online, you stumble across a song you never would have, listened to before, and now you love it. But the point being, there have been plenty of things that, the critics have been just terribly wrong about. Even though Rolling Stone is not perfect, one of the things it does do well is it will go back and say, look at how we rated this album. That is now a classic, and they don't even always get that right. And the point of that is that critics are not the last word on any goddamn thing. They're not the last word on anything. And consensus is like crowd wisdom, which is usually not that wise. So if all you're doing is listening to what everybody else is listening to, then you're making your life more boring, frankly. All right, for all you authenticity hawks, and again, this is for everyone, but it's especially for musicians. Did the artist do everything themselves? Don't care. Does being more quote-unquote intimate or emphasizing lyrics more than music composition make a song more real? No. If the artist can't reproduce the music live exactly as it is recorded, is it still valid? Yes. I did this years ago. I did a series of 4 episodes on illusion in music, and many of the things that I mentioned had to do with the fact of impression is different from reality. So if your impression is that James Taylor is more authentic than Foo Fighters, you're wrong. Now, I like both of them, frankly, for similar and different reasons. But I find that authenticity in music has absolutely nothing to do with how it sounds. Nothing to do. And often doesn't have anything to do with where it came from. There are artists whose music you love that you then come to find out somebody else wrote that song, so it wasn't in the band. But so what? If the music is good, there's a human interest story, but human interest is different from music. Music should, again, be able to stand alone. And so, and another, as far as like everyone, but especially musicians, those people, and I know a good friend who is a recording artist as well, and thinks he needs to get that solo in one take. No, you don't. Because the solos you think were done in one take, they were incredible, were probably comped 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 takes and cobbled together. Usually, and I'm going to say this very strongly, the best music is comped. It's cobbled together because it's an artistic curation of choosing the best moments throughout a song. And I can go on and on. All right. For all you gearheads, part 1, the stage. Should I wait to perform until I get better gear? No. Is it okay to play in venues with not the best backline and equipment? Yes. What are the rules for how to care for and maintain an instrument? Don't care. Guess how many times I have changed the strings on my primary bass that I use for my gigs? 0. Guess how many times I've changed the strings on my guitar that I've primarily used for recording? I know I've changed them, but I can't remember when. I think it's been a decade. I happen to like worn-in sound. So maybe it's a choice rather than just laziness, or it might be both. Does your instrument work? Then use it. Yes. Are you ever going to be the best at what you do? No. Very few people are, if any. So don't wait for that. Don't wait until you think you are absolute. I look back on performances I did where I knew at the time my brain set was, you're inadequate. And they're fucking good. Don't keep kicking yourself. Get out there and do it. Don't wait until you've got the perfect instrument. Don't wait until your voice is as perfect as you want it to be, because that's never going to happen. For all you frightened performers, does it matter that I use notes or an iPad when performing? No. Did I make any mistakes? Don't care. And neither does the audience. Is the audience good and or receptive enough? Yes. So the whole point of this is you're commanding the stage. You are there to do your thing. Do it the way you want to do it. Don't think that the only expectation the audience has is to have a good time. And if they're not having a good time, and you're giving your all, then it's not you. If you're up there and you're hesitant and you're hemming and hawing and you're making apologies, whatever, don't ever apologize for making a mistake, because chances are nobody noticed it. And if you're using an iPad, look, there is a skill to being able to read off of a sheet and make the music dynamic and still pay attention to the audience. And if classical musicians can have music in front of them when they play, why can't anybody else? Especially somebody might request something. You can call it up on the iPad. You have it. And did you make mistakes? Yes, you did. Everyone does. All the time. Doesn't matter. Keep it going. Keep the dynamism up. Keep your performance up at that level. It's going to be amazing. Already. For all you perfectionists, both performers and creators, this is for. How technically skilled is the musician? Don't care. Is it okay that I don't have perfect pitch? Yes. Does difficulty or virtuosity make music better? No. Writers who think they need 7,000 chord changes to make a song better, to me, are trying more to prove something than actually understanding what makes music good. You can have one chord in a song, and it can be a great song, depending how it's done. Perfect pitch. If you're harmonizing, you want to be enough on pitch that the harmonies sound good and not sour, but we've over-relied on perfect pitch across the board to the point of taking out a lot of the humanism. There are times where I pitch correct. One note, usually. Most of what I do, I don't pitch correct, though, and it works. And as far as technical skill, I've said this before, chops don't mean a damn thing. I know somebody who woodshed solos for performances for hours and hours each week. Do you think the audience gives a shit? No. All of this is just too much. Now, the final set here, it's for all you music creators, but it will help shed light on the process for musicians and fans too. So don't tune out if you're not a music creator. I think you'll enjoy this. For all you gearheads, part 2, the studio. Am I using the right recording and production process? Yes. Does it matter what technology, software, or studio I use? No. How much money should I spend on recording gear and software? Don't care. Got into a conversation with a guy at a bar who's also a music creator, or at least has a studio. And he asked what I did, and we talked about music, and I talked about, the kind of music I do. And then he straight went to, what's your recording setup? And I told him, and he said, if you ever want to record it professionally, come see me. I don't like talking to that guy anymore because A, the music I make stands up to any music out there, quality wise. And B, that person hasn't released his own music in years and years and years because he's more focused on the fucking gear, on how much money he quoted prices for the equipment that he bought. People who say, use this DAW, digital recording thing, or instead of this one, it's all, who cares? They all kind of work the same way. You might like one better than the other, either because you're more familiar with it or it has features, whatever. It doesn't matter. And the recording process, get a clean signal. That's it. Get a clean signal and figure out the rest as you go. Don't search for perfection. I killed myself once doing 10 mixes of a song, and the 10th mix was no better than the first. For all you sticklers, is this how you're supposed to write or arrange or produce a song? Yes. Does breaking a musical or production rule mean something is wrong? No. Did I mix and master this correctly? Don't care. So as far as writing, you write what you want. A. Can the songs be improved? Yes. That's why I have a song coach, nickdamadio.com/thesongcoach. If you ever want to, learn how to tighten up what you're writing. But truthfully speaking, don't wait until somebody tells you whether something is right or wrong. I'll get into what happens when you add something that you think is wrong a little later on. And there are no rules. There are no rules for creating music because any rule you think was a standard has been broken. It has been broken. And the mixing and mastering, people get so hung up on this. Give what you are doing enough presence and enough distinction between parts, or as much as you want, for it to sound the way you hope it will sound. Beyond that, don't let anybody tell you, that it needs to be quote unquote better. For all you undecided, do I need to be better to create and record music? No. Is it good enough to release? Yes. What if nobody likes it? Don't care. These are questions we ask ourselves to prevent ourselves from putting music out because we're afraid, because we fear that it won't be received well. And I can tell you, one thing, most people aren't going to hear it. And the ones that do are either going to pass it by and it's not for them, or they're going to like it or love it and it is for them. Don't second guess the audience. Do what you do best. And again, do not wait until, I had this greatest song and I recorded it, but it just wasn't the perfect mix, so I never released it. Well, you're the dumb one. You're the one wasting your own music and talent because no one else is going to pay attention. You know how many times you hear old music that was not very well mixed or mastered? That's a classic with hundreds of millions of streams or whatever it is. And then there are other things that have incredible production values, equally good. You know what? In between, doesn't matter. And finally, the mother of all questions for everyone, everywhere, ever, for all of us. Do I need permission? You already have it. If you're a music creator, do not wait. I say this. Don't wait until you're better at writing or playing or singing or recording. Don't wait until you have better gear or instruments. Don't wait for better venues or a bigger fan base. Share your music however you can and as soon as you can, because years will go by before you know it and you wonder why you didn't do it. Also, as a music creator, if you have an idea you think won't work, because it doesn't fit or isn't allowed. That's the idea that you need to run with. I've made this mistake all too often. Still learning it. I kind of know it now, but it took me years. I ignored things like this because they made me uncomfortable, when what they really were was the truest, most vulnerable representation of me, and so the most unique, and I couldn't find a precedent for it, which precedents help give you permission. The more you get of that, the more you realize you don't even need a precedent. It's probably out there, but don't wait to find it. Do the thing that's most unique. If you're a music performer, don't wait. Don't wait until you're what you think of as a great musician. Don't wait until you know that lick or solo perfectly. Don't wait until you don't need help remembering the lyrics or chords. Don't wait for the good gear or the best instrument. If you have the temerity to want to perform, you're already good enough. If you think you can get up on stage to any degree and do anything, you're already there. Does that mean you can't get better as you go? Sure, that's fine. Don't wait for that, though. I go out on stage knowing I won't be the best or the worst in the world, that I'm somewhere in the mix, and especially that there is no one else in the world who will do it the way I do it. And also as a performer, don't be afraid to mess around with your set list and with the audience and with how you perform something. You own the stage for as long as you have it. I know a guy who likes to sing everything an octave down. I will never do that. Works for him. He owns that stage. He can do that. If you're a fan, get your head out of your ass. Music is not a genre, period. You don't need permission to like rock and hip hop, classical and pop, jazz and folk, electronic and country. You may need permission for that. No, I'm just kidding. You don't need permission to love two opposing artists, Beatles and Stones type dichotomy, Tupac and Biggie and all that stuff. None of that matters. You don't need permission to put a playlist together that makes no sense if it's giving you pleasure. You don't need to stop loving an artist because they're famous, or wait for an artist to be famous and get consensus before you'll give them the time of day. For all you older fans, you don't need to worry that there's too much music out there and that you'll never catch up. As I've said time and again, it takes an hour or two total to survey what's what and get caught up. And there are ways to do it that will connect the new and unfamiliar with the old and the things you already know. And it takes, again, an hour. So yeah, if the question is permission, that's the one I really don't care about. Conclusions. What we all care about is the most convoluted Venn diagram in the world, and that's okay. Some overlap there and a lot of not overlap. These have been the things I don't care about, and hopefully they also illustrated what I do care about, which is the music and only the music as it stands. Simple, but comprehensive too. Your list of care and not care will overlap with mine, some, lots, others hardly at all, but to a degree. And I bet there are things we disagree on that are perfectly valid on both sides, and that's great. But, and this is a big one, if what you care about detracts from either enjoying music and or playing and creating the best music you can, then you need to examine your priorities and your blockages because you're focusing on the wrong things. Further, anything that prevents you from having a shared music experience with others is not good. That's why I don't care about the stuff that I just talked about. I've had hang-ups and prejudices that have gotten in the way. I've spent my whole life and career working on them. Most I have either eliminated or I'm aware of and know that they are triggering and try to move past them. But I still have a few. We all do. Awareness is always the first step. Desire to change the second step. Constant work, the next huge step. Don't use the word done. You're never done. You're always evolving if you're living, hopefully. And acceptance and self-forgiveness runs through it all because if you can accept and forgive yourself more fully, you can do that for others too. I know that super well because my entire life and career has been a process of self-acceptance, getting over fears, self-hatred and feeling inadequate and all that, and learning I have permission to do whatever, however. Speaking of me doing, the featured song. I've shared a lot of duplicate songs this season, but it's not because I've run out of new ones. It's because I'm trying to share the songs that most fit each episode topic and style of the music I'm talking about. I still have a pretty extensive list of songs that I haven't shared yet, and since this episode and this whole show is all about the love of music, this is the perfect time to share one I haven't shared with you yet. And it's the end of the season, and I can do what I want. It's called Lost Found. And it's from Sympathy for the Weird. And it's also on RECcollection, the Best of Rec 2007 to 2020. It was modeled after some of those laconic, kind of laid back, slightly edgy, but also not snarky, but also sincere bands like Pavement or some of the jangle pop bands with a little bit of an attitude. I even used the word pavement in the lyrics. It's all been wasted pavement about, life with the person I'm talking about. It fits the story, and it was meant as a reference, a subtle reference to that band. This is about a guy trying to find a reason to stay in a relationship and realizing he'd rather be lost in the world, i.e. alone, than find himself with the person he's singing about. That's part of the more or less paraphrased part of the chorus. The chorus is overlapping call and response, which I don't do often, and I found it really fun. And when I did this live with my wife, it kicked ass. She did the response. I did the initial, and it worked out so well. As always, you can stream this on nickdamadio.com/music, or you can click the direct link in the text and get right to the album that it's on. And of course, stay tuned to hear it in a minute or so, but please do click the link. Please go to nickdamadio.com/music and all of that, because it helps us. Questions. How did these questions hit you? Were there some you actually do care about? Let me know. Are there other questions you think are beside the point of enjoying listening to and or creating music that I didn't include? Let me know that. And a final challenge to you as the season ends and you're contemplating this over the summer and watching all of the new bonus episodes I'll be giving you each week. You ask me questions to find out whether or not I care about them, or if I think you should or shouldn't. I will answer them both in the comments. Please comment and I will answer you. I always do. And I will put them in a future catch-up episode. That is it for this episode and for season 8. Yes, you will get new material next week and every week, but I will not be talking to you until late September, the kickoff of season 9. Thank you as always. My objectives here are music, conversation, and connection. And I'll see you soon.
I'm running low, strung out and desiccated, hiding in a hole. You somehow infiltrated, but I'll find a way to escape, because I'd rather be alone with myself than alone with you. Of all the worlds we could have co-created, ours is the worst. I'd have anticipated. So I've got to go, because I'd rather be alone with myself than alone with you. I'd rather choose my own kind of hell than the hell you do. The heart will want what the heart needs. I'm the dunce here. I'll always be the one who bleeds. I'm the dunce here. I made a promise I shall keep. In my darkest hour, the one I break will make you weep. You can feel my vow. Forgive me for what I must do. Necessary. 'Cause I'd rather be lost in the world than find myself with you. Our ride is done. It's all been wasted pavement, and I find the sun. I'll turn back this thing I came in And you know I'll make my way, because I always find a way. I'd rather be alone with myself